Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Ryan, and we're live. This is a live career Q&A tonight. So I'm going to be answering your questions about your career, your job search, leadership, entrepreneurism, whatever's on your mind at work or in your career journey. I've got some questions to answer that I brought with me, and I see a couple of questions in the chat. So you're welcome to add a question to the chat, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. And I have a couple of announcements or updates for you, and then even a coaching exercise as we go ahead. So let me jump right in and answer the first question in the chat, and we will take it from there. If you have another question for me, just leave it in the chat and I'll see it and I'll do my best to answer it. If you're not familiar with me, you haven't come across me, my name is Liz Ryan. My company is Human Workplace, and I share empowered life and career advice. My background is HR leadership, 1,000 years, SVP of HR for a Fortune 500 company and a bunch of startups. And I've been consulting and speaking and coaching and writing and drawing and singing about this stuff for ages. And you might know me from LinkedIn or some other platform, but if not, it's really, really good to meet you. And you'll get a feel today for the kind of career advice I share, which is very much you first, people first. You are the CEO of your career and your life, so you're not under the thumb of anybody. And our job together is to get stronger to have the lives and careers we deserve and get more of the things we want. All right, so jumping right in, Faith, how to start and end a 30-minute networking call with C-level folks and former colleagues. Also, what are good questions to ask in that call? These calls are to see what I am looking for so they can refer accordingly. Okay. So my assumption here, Faith, is that you prompted the call. You said, hey, can we hop on the phone, hop on Zoom and do some networking? So I assume that's what we're talking about, that you're reaching out to folks you know, maybe some you do and some you don't know, former colleagues, maybe prospective hiring executives, these C-level folks or friends of friends, to say, hey, let's chat, let's talk about what's going on. Okay, so the first thing I would say about that is you get on the phone, you get on the Zoom call, and you say, if you know them, obviously, hey, Charlie, how you been? Love to hear an update about you. You must do that every single networking call, particularly with someone you know, because they're giving you time that they're donating to the cause, and they know you have some reason to talk to them apart from just to check on their welfare. So the absolutely, I'm sure you know this, but essential first thing to do is how are you? How's the family? What's the latest? Okay. And that could take 20 minutes and that's fine. It's a good use of your time and energy. And you want to build that glue and remind that person that you are, their friend and attentive and a good listener and you care about them, all that stuff. And at a certain point, they're likely to say, so, but what about you? Tell me about this job search or tell me about what you're doing. And you're just going to be very storyistic, very human, very, very succinct. And you're going to say, yeah, I left Wiggly Devices and I'm looking for this kind of thing. A GRC director in this kind of firm, roughly, is kind of what I'm thinking right now. I'd love your thoughts on that. I'd love, any advice that you have, obviously. And just to brainstorm for a minute would be so helpful. You kind of know me and maybe also the industry. And that's it. And whatever they say, whatever offer they make, whatever advice they have, if they've glanced at your LinkedIn profile or they ask you questions about what you want and they kind of give you their feel for what's going on in the market or the industry, it's all beautiful. And it's a good thing. You go in with no expectation. You're grateful for the time. Do not ask them for leads. Is there anybody that you could introduce me to? I just don't think you should do that. Networking is not transactional. In the conversation, as the good energy sort of takes hold, they may say, you know what, I should introduce you to so and so. But personally, me, I do not recommend that you say, hey, who should I talk to? That's about it. And then you'll get off the phone and you'll send a little email or text or however you and they communicate and say, thank you so much for chatting. I'm so thrilled to hear about your daughter's, gymnastics medal. And I really enjoyed your description of what's going on in the industry. You helped broaden my perspective a lot. And let me know any way I can help you. And I will absolutely follow up on your suggestion to check out yada yada, the organization, etc. And it's just a great muscle to build, to get stronger at that, just talking to people and checking in with them. And it's hard sometimes not to say, I'm job hunting, you need to help me, but it doesn't work that way. It's all about that foundation of trust, and that it isn't, what can you do for me? Right. That's kind of like, for me, the first rule of not just networking, but morals, is that people are whole and worthy in themselves, and they're not like means to an end. So we just never want to treat someone as our conduit to something that we want. It's kind of like, let the universe take the wheel, and bring our full self and our warm and supportive self to every interaction, and the right stuff is going to happen. All right. Hope that is helpful. Okay, let's see. Chicago Made Punk. Hi, Chicago Made Punk. I have a 2-year gap in my resume from when I did some traveling. Am I cooked? I don't want to tell recruiters, hiring managers what the gap is for, because I feel like it makes me look bad. Oh, this is a great question. Does it make me look bad? I mean, when we talk about looking bad, thank you for that question. The first question we have to ask is, to who? To who am I looking bad? Who is out there judging? Is it some other, civilization on a planet in another galaxy, looking through like the world's longest telescope at us, and judging? Like, all right, is it somebody who is sitting here on Earth looking at my resume and saying, what's this 2-year gap? Whether we're traveling, or are they traveling? Who travels? What? They should be working, nose to the grindstone. There's a degree to which, a big degree to which, only the people who get you deserve you. And you can't, live your life afraid of that one person who worries about your gap. For goodness sake, you're allowed to take a gap. You're allowed to live your life. You don't have to account. Like, when I was 20 or 21, I signed a paper saying I would never get off the conveyor belt, and I would just be there, working until retirement. We never agreed to that. And you didn't agree to that. So if you said, I was in a position, I didn't know if I'd ever be there again to travel, and I went to these countries, I went to these states, I did this stuff, it was amazing. And I recommend it for everyone. You know, that's one position to take about that stuff. And you could literally put in the resume, personal sabbatical, or I had a once in a lifetime opportunity to go on a boat, with my friend to Thailand or whatever. But it's completely up to you, because the other thing that you could do is say, I was writing a book. I was keeping a journal in preparation for writing a book, or I was, doing personal development stuff. Like, we're in a different world now. People have a side business that maybe is a good income, or they make some good investments or whatever, and they don't necessarily always have to, they have a good living situation that's super reasonable, or people have creative solutions to things, and they don't always have to make a regular big city full-time wage with benefits. And so I think the less you say about that, the more you convey, like, I'm here traveling my path, and I invite the people to travel along with me who resonate at my frequency. And if they don't, God bless, they're welcome to live a long and happy life without me in it. That's one way to look at it. You don't have to worry. Your brand of jazz, your unique brand of jazz, Chicago Made, is not for everybody's taste. So, God bless. But all right. Good to know. I was going to ask if they know of anything. Yeah, I think, Faith, here's the thing. You were going to ask if they know of anything reasonable, but they know of it. They just know of it. Your problem, no one's problem on the job search trail is really, I have to know about openings. This is one of the fallacies. I have to know about openings. We look for pain that we can solve. And when you are crystal clear about the pain, whether it's in that particular job title or something else, because I'm sure you don't just fit in one job title. And we don't want to try to be all things to all people. We don't want to try to be a Swiss Army knife. But when you know the pain you solve, and how organizations or even individuals, struggle against that pain, then you're pretty powerful. You don't have to wait for someone to post a job opening. The more senior you are, the less you can afford to wait for someone to post a job opening, because they just might not. And even if they do, then you're in there with like 85, 112 other resumes. That's not what you want to be, right? I'm just about to teach my executive job search group. It's about turning the whole thing around so that you are in charge. And you're not waiting for somebody to post a job. Or have you heard of anything? It's not like that. That isn't actually how that executive hiring works. Is like apply through the website and I'm going to get interviewed. That really at a certain level, director and up, it's not how people get jobs. And I kind of try to stay close to that in terms of where that salary level is, and it's dropping. That you're way less likely, like vanishingly unlikely to get your job that way through that black hole system, which is more about like entry and mid-level jobs. Okay, what else have we got? I have a 2.5 year gap too. Yeah, Faith, this is the right now we've got the confederation of 2.5 year gaps. Okay, so we have another question here, Faith, and I'll get to my questions I brought with me. Salary range in these roles can significantly vary depending on the company. For similar roles, like GRC director, I'm giving 165 to 215. Don't give a range. Faith, you've given your last range. You know, you've given your last range. Don't give anybody a range. That is letting them define the box. Here's my, that's a massive range, by the way. That's 35 and 15. That's $50,000 for what? Because they said, because one company says I have this, another one says I have that. Think about that. We are all consultants now. We are all consultants, whether we work for one organization or a whole bunch. It's a consulting mindset. It's an entrepreneurial mindset. That is what we all need. We are not thinking like, well, I gave this range because they said they had this, they said they had that. You are nobody's supplicant. You're not crawling on your hands and knees. Please, you are good at what you do. And the more you own that and know that, the less you're going to feel like, oh, somebody has an opening. Let me run over there. It doesn't work like that. You are going to drone over the wall between us on the outside and those people on the inside through your friends, through not by saying, hey, who should I talk to, but by them saying, you know what, I thought of you, Faith, because we had such a great conversation and you should talk to so and so. And also through other channels I don't have time to go into tonight, but the black hole is not for you. The ATS and filling out applicants, it's not for you. So this is for a message for all senior level folks. It's not for you. Don't give anybody else a range anymore, because then they define like your value just based on who's hiring what at any given moment. And they also test the market. How low can they go? So they say, Faith, what's your range that you're looking for? And you say, you know, I'm not in a position. The more I learn about the job, the better I'll be able to be, better I'll be able equipped to give you that number. But right now, I mean, I heard a job title and an employer name. Like, I'd have to I'd have to really understand. Well, I can't pass you on without knowing if you're in the range. Great. So just tell me what they're thinking about paying. Like, that's the logical thing. They had the conversations inside. They made a budget, right? How would I be able to anticipate what they decided to pay this role? However, when you tell me, Melissa, the recruiter, right, what they're planning to pay the person this role, that's going to tell me a lot about them and frankly, whether I'm interested. That's the speech. And Melissa says, well, they haven't authorized me to, give out numbers. But if you told me, no, why? Just like, okay, I'll just roll over and be the submissive dog. No, you're too good at what you do. So you're going to say, okay, look, I know you're in a bind because they said, don't give me a number. So I'm just asking you this. This is a GRC. And I mean, that job could pay, somebody's out there probably paying 100 grand and somebody is paying 700 grand. I got to get a feel for what we are talking about, because you know what? I don't want to waste your time. Okay, they say for the right person, they could do 190 with a bonus. Okay, thank you. Now we're talking. Your comfort level in having those kinds of conversations is the whole ballgame. Nothing else matters. It's not like, here's my qualifications. That's the olden days, not now. People have pain and they need solutions and they need people who know themselves. And it's uncomfortable at first. Every time you set a new boundary, but that's what makes you significant and powerful. It's literally the thing. All right. Let's see, what do we got? Okay. Covered the gap. I hope Chicago made That makes me feel better. Follow up. Do you think I'm limiting myself if I only look for work from home jobs? Maybe that's a dumb question, but I really don't want to work in offices anymore. Okay. No, that's not a dumb question. There's a lot of people who feel the way you feel. They want to work from home 100%. In fact, I'm surprised that we as a working community and managers and employees and candidates and recruiters all together haven't come up with a naming system that makes way more sense and is way more clear and definite, like fully remote. You never have to come in. You could live in Antarctica. That's one name, one term we should define. We don't ever have to see you. If we do, twice a year we'll fly you in. Fine. Another one, remote at your house, but you got to be local. And if you're not local, if you live 100 miles away, occasionally once, twice a month, you got to get here. Like, spell it out. Because I hear from a lot of people that they do a Zoom interview for what is labeled a remote job. And they say, well, we just want you here. We just want to see your face once a week. And it's like, well, that's not going to work because your company is, 240 miles away from where I live, or 300 miles. How am I going to get there? I don't want to do that. So it's not a dumb question at all, and it's high on the list for a lot of people. But there are websites, and if you message me on LinkedIn or at our website, I'll send you a few that I've come across that are fully remote jobs. I haven't vetted these. I don't know how real they are, how legit the companies are, but the lists exist, these websites for fully remote jobs. But what a lot of people do in your situation when they've decided I really want to work from home is they interview for conventional jobs. As long as the job ad doesn't say 5 days in the office, then it's like, why? Conventional jobs that have some give and take between work from home and work in the office, and they say, look, my long-term aspiration is to work from home. And then it's kind of like you do a great job, which I know you would anyway, and you look for more flexibility just based on the nature of the job and the fact that you do a great job. And if they don't do it, you move on. Because the thing is, nothing in the United States, we have this thing, employment at will. Nothing is permanent anyway. We don't have contracts except for senior executives and people in the union. So the rest of working people in the United States, 90% don't have any contracts. So even if they said it's work from home, there's no guarantee that it would stay that way. I don't mean to be depressing, but that's just the reality. Okay, what do I say if they ask salary expectations? We went through that, Faith, so I think we covered that. The script for that. Yep. Okay, we got that. All right, I'm going to turn to my list because I brought questions from the folks in our community and among my readers. And this is a pretty common one. Hey, Liz, my resume is terrible. How do I start to improve it? Most people think their resume is terrible. And just to validate them, they're right. Their resumes are terrible. The reason almost everybody's resume is so bad is because that's the way we're taught to write resumes. This is still the resume writing standard that is taught, is the horrible, sad, corporate robotic resume. It's still what's taught today. Shockingly, right? Shockingly, but it is. And it's results oriented professional with a bottom line orientation and motivated self-starter. It's worse than a waste of words. It's worse than a waste of real estate on that page, that finite resume page or on the screen. It's way worse than that because it says I could have said anything. We got the English language. It's one of the biggest languages, like as far as the number of words. And the author, Bill Bryson, says English is the only language that has or needs a thesaurus for multiple words that mean kind of like the same or similar thing. So we've got this language we could be using to really get across so much more about your power and your heft and your accomplishments and how you roll. And we just don't. We just hide behind this corporate dreck, that sounds like a zombie or I don't even know what, meets or exceeds expectations, works well with like cross-functional teams. Why would anyone say that? You have a story that is, I did this stuff, I got into this for this reason. I was able to learn this. This is my path. We put it out on the page. right? And this is the resume approach that we teach in our company, Human Workplace. It's called a human voiced resume. It's still words on the page, but it sounds like a person is talking to you because you're going to get through the first screen. I mentioned to Faith, don't go through the black hole, and that's all senior level people. But when you do apply that way for other jobs, the first screen is obviously keywords. They're looking for certain keywords, which you must have in your resume somewhere, your application or your resume. And then a person's going to look at your paper. A person's going to look at your resume, and that's where you have to talk to them because they're looking right at this piece of paper, and maybe they're looking at 8 or 10 or 15. You have to speak to them and say, "This is the thing. You are coming through that tiny little aperture, that little pipe. Editorial comment, the technology aided, technology dominated recruiting system used by virtually every employer is the most dysfunctional thing I could even envision. It's horrible, obviously, horrible. It's the opposite of a human process, which is what recruiting is supposed to be. My coworkers and I hired about 10,000 people without ATS technology. I know that makes me sound like from the Civil War, but that's the way you actually recruit people is by dealing with people and talking to them and trust in the relationship and no one-way video interviews and all this garbage and psychological tests and math tests before you talk to anyone. It's just so horrible and insulting. It's horrible leadership. But anyway, when you do apply through that ATS, what I call black hole system online, applying for jobs online, your resume has to speak with a human voice. It has to grab the reader as soon as they look at it. And it's going to say, I'm a, a Workday payroll specialist who helped Angry Chocolates scale up from 40 to 175 employees and upgrade our reporting capability to whatever. You have to speak like we talk when we're talking, like I'm talking right now. Not long-winded, but I understand. I'm not that I'm claiming skills. I have negotiation skills, administrative skills. No, it's that I'm telling you I did this, this, and this because it needed to be done. And what we see is not just that you possess skills, but you know how to take them off the shelf and use them to good effect. And you know the good effect. So you're just conveying so much more meaty information in a resume with this type of approach. So that's kind of my general response to this idea. I hate my resume is that, you know, we'll show you a way better way to write. And also that human voice resume, when it's done, it's never done, but when you got a version that you really like and you're ready to start using in your job search, it reflects back on you in the most powerful way. And you read it and you say, yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I did this stuff. And it's really, really cool. And I feel that power now. And what people say is, this is the first resume I've ever had that sounded like me, felt like me. I was happy to give it to people. I felt good about it because you're in it. Your voltage is in it. All right. Oh, okay. Okay. If you're dealing with this one, I want to see if there's any more questions. And I'm going to take a break here in a second because it's 20 minutes in. Okay. I missed the first 5 minutes. Wondering if you spoke about putting a post out on LinkedIn mentioning my skill set, problems I help solve, etc., to get it out there. DG TV 404. Okay. No, I didn't say anything about putting out a post on LinkedIn mentioning my skill set and problems I help solve, etc. If you're consulting, if you have a consulting business and you work on a particular problem, yeah, for sure. In my business, I what? I create websites for small businesses or that need more visibility, or I run the social media for entrepreneurs that are too busy to do it for themselves and don't know how. If you're consulting and you're working for different clients, on an hourly basis or a project basis, absolutely post on LinkedIn. Why not? It's free, it's a billboard, and the post will be connected, of course, to your profile. Then people go to the profile and they see your awesomeness. If you're job hunting, I don't know that that's really because people are not reading LinkedIn looking for here's me and here's the problem I saw. That approach, though, and that knowledge of what pain you really do solve, and at least one story of having solved or relieved it at a past job or somewhere else is the core of your message as a job seeker. So it's going to go in your resume and it's going to go in your LinkedIn profile. A post out on LinkedIn as a job seeker saying, here's me and this kind of job I'm looking for. I haven't seen that be successful. And I'm not sure it's, high power strategy. LinkedIn is so overwhelming anyway. People can't attach that. Oh, look, here's a person looking for this job. You know what I mean? But there's tons of other ways to get in front of hiring managers in addition to the black hole, to the ATS. Okay, I hope I answered your question. And if you got a question that I haven't answered yet, if you could just leave a note in the chat and point me to it, and I'll try to answer it. Okay, I got another question here. Oh, this is about the interview question. I'm sorry to hear that anybody's still asking this, but maybe they are. It's the question, what's your greatest weakness? You get used to a lot more, maybe, I hope, than now, but used to get this question all the time. What's your greatest weakness? And it's just a horrible question. I mentioned earlier that, in my opinion, the recruiting process in virtually every company in the United States, at least, is bad. It's dismal. It's anti-human. It's really dehumanizing, and it's not good from a recruiting standpoint. And really good candidates drop out of the pipelines all the time because they just, what? Why the long delays? Why the radio silence? Why random extra interviews thrown in and you never know the status of where you stand? I don't mean to be depressing. This is what I hear every day. And so then to ask a question like, what's your greatest weakness? What's your greatest weakness? What's wrong with you? How are you defective? We've never met before or anything like that. But now that I have this tiny little bit, this much of artificial power because of my position that I'm interviewing you. So therefore I am up and you are down. And I'm interviewing you. And so I get this little tiny bit of power that I can say, what's wrong with you? How are you faulty? How are you flawed? How are you defective? I really want to hear about it. It's so gross that that's for me almost disqualifying. And you're going to decide how your job search is going, if you have other offers, if your strength and your understanding of and your ownership of your own power and your own marketability is feeling really good, or if you're feeling diminished and not sure of yourself, you're going to decide how much nonsense to put up with. But this is a bad question. What's your greatest weakness? What's your greatest weakness? I'm sorry. Are we dating? Why do you get to ask me what I don't like about myself or what I'm working on? That's so weird and twisted. Why would you want to know that? It's very personal, right? It's an interior thing. They're not gonna answer the question if you ask it. What's your greatest weakness? First of all, who says people have weaknesses? What even is that? Something you don't do well? We all have millions of things we don't do well and never will. So what? I don't care if I can play golf. I don't care. God bless. Hey, God bless millions of things. I cannot tune a piano. I can't millions and millions of things. I can't fix a motor on a lawnmower. It's all good though. There's no reason to feel bad about any of it or focus on something that I should be better at. Why? Who says? We are perfect right now. And the more that we really feel that and own that, the less tolerance we're going to have to go on an interview. What's your greatest weakness? I believe that initial conditions, cultural conditions, are really, really important. And this United States, where I live, was founded originally by the Europeans, not originally, but when Europeans came over, by sort of religious, extremists. And they had this thing about we're all flawed, we're all faulty. It's all in the Pilgrim Puritan literature all over the place. I used to sing a lot of early music from those days, and I was shocked. It was always break me. I'm nothing. I suck. I'll bend. Yeah. So this whole idea of subjugation of ourselves and we're weak and we're trying. Why? You are perfect and fine right now. And anybody who doesn't get that, God bless them. They don't have to hire you. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, you still need an answer to the question, what's your greatest weakness? And, if you're not going to get up and leave, which is your privilege if you want to, you can say, I used to stress about stuff like that. Honestly, I used to think I had to improve this, improve that. And I just got clear over time that I should get better at the things I'm good at, and that where I can make a contribution and see it and feel it and know that I'm adding to the communal good. And in my case, that's whatever, illustration and graphic design, and just get better at that rather than spend time working on something that it doesn't speak to me, that I'm not good at, for I'm not sure what reason. And I feel the power and the finiteness of time and energy. And I really try to focus on following my path. All right. DGTV 404, for job hunting as well as open to project opportunities, what are other better ways? Thanks. To promote yourself for job hunting. Okay. So the first thing for job hunting, DG, is your LinkedIn profile. Go on LinkedIn. Okay, no, that's the second thing. The first thing is, what do you want? So I mentioned a little bit with Faith. A huge problem for job seekers is they don't know what they want, and they have this, and of course they're in fear. They need a job. They're saying, I can do this, this, and they're out there trying to be all things to all people, and it just doesn't work. It's not compelling. Nobody's looking for that. You know, maybe there's some jobs. I'm sure there are some jobs where you can do a little bit of carpentry and a little bit of plumbing and HVAC. They want to hire you as a utility person, but usually it's not that we have to be specialists, but we have to know how our skills and our experiences translate or coalesce into something worthy and obviously beneficial to an organization. Specifically, I want you to choose one or two, at most three job titles, related job titles that you're going for. Not every job you can perform, because you cannot brand yourself powerfully for every job you could perform. And most people don't know what they want, and their resumes are too vague and too broad, and they don't get interviews. They don't look good. We don't know what they want. And they'll say, I'm open to any manager, director, or VP level opportunity in HR. No one's going to interview you for any of those jobs, because think about it. You don't know who you're going to the party as. Are you going as SpongeBob SquarePants? Are you going as Marilyn Monroe? Are you going as Wolverine? We have to know. You have to know. You say you're open to coordinator jobs, you're not getting interviewed for manager jobs, and vice versa, because you haven't decided. This is the whole thing. It's in here. It's the whole thing. Well, for better or worse, I am setting my sights on X. And when people get laid off, a lot of times they demote themselves. Well, I better go for a lower level job. Why? Because I got laid off. So what? That doesn't demote your skills, your experience. And when you apply for lower level jobs, then you're clearly qualified for it. It doesn't go well because they're suspicious. What's with this person? Why are they trying to? Did they do something bad? What's the story? And they'll interview you, unfortunately, just out of curiosity to hear. And that's a waste of your time. Okay. Let's see. What do we got? Dusty Rhodes. All right. I had a CEO interviewing me, assigned me to create a marketing plan for one of their products, along with my cover letter and resume. I've heard of these things, but I didn't have a counteroffer idea. I get that. Okay. The CEO interviewed you, and they assigned you to create a marketing plan for one of the products. Okay. That's, obviously kind of a scam, because you're getting free work out of you, especially because it's their actual product. It's not a fictional product that the CEO just gave you as a fictional marketing plan that you could do, but they gave you an actual product. It sounds like one of their products. So what do they get? They interview 12 candidates. They get 12 marketing plans. They can take the best elements from each, not hire anybody, presumably, and not pay anybody. Unfortunately, I sat in a conference in Denver years ago, and a CEO got up, and he just thought he was the hippest little tech bro you've ever set eyes on. And he said, I interview candidates a couple times a year for fake jobs that don't exist. He said this in a whole big room, just to get ideas, free consulting ideas. What a smart boy I am. Imagine just completely trample on people and misuse their talent and their experience. So gross. And then to tell people about it like I'm so clever. So you have to be really careful. Advise people to donate if they want to, 45 minutes, and to be very clear about that. So they're not comparing apples to oranges, right? If they get a whole bunch of very complete, detailed marketing plans with graphs and calendars and all the actual verbiage from the campaigns and all of the numbers and predictions and a competitive analysis, a whole huge McKinsey thing, and yours is 2 pages. Very simple. They'll be like, "Oh, they didn't put the work in," but you've told them already. You know what, George, Sarah, what I can do, if it'd be useful, I can do a overview. I'll do just some thoughts in a kind of an outline form, a little bit of text, explanatory text, and just, see if we're on the same page, see if we're resonating at the same frequency. You're gonna nail that. It's not gonna take a lot of time, and it's not gonna be something they can just coach and just implement on their own. I mean, at a high level, they can, but hopefully that's what they were thinking anyway. They're a really so much of that take home test mentality is really misguided because really it's do you understand where we are and what we need? And you don't have to have somebody do a marketing plan to get at that, you know? Okay. Hope we answered that question. Your counter offer is my consulting rate is XXX per hour. Should I send you a contract? Okay, that's AAA. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the counter offer. If they don't like the idea of the high level view, the 30,000-foot view, you said I could absolutely dig in and take this on as a consulting project at the rate of bada bing. Looking for free consulting, yeah. Unfortunately. Okay, back to my list. It's getting dark in here. Okay. Hey, Liz, you always say we should be ready to get another job at any moment, whether things are going well or badly at our current job. But how do you get ready without actually job hunting? This is a great question, too. And it's timely because we all have to be here now. We have to be ready. You see these layoffs happening everywhere in every industry. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings, but you know this without me telling you. So being ready, being awake and aware of our own value and what we're good at and what job titles could use a person like us and who's got those job titles. And you can find out all of this, what those jobs pay, what kind of experience they want. You can find out all of this easily now. LinkedIn alone is going to give you 90% of it. And any AI tool is going to fill. If you hate AI, I understand. Just use regular Google that still exists. But you know, you can find this stuff out. In fact, I'm going to give you a little mini lesson on this right now. Okay. This is the prep, getting altitude. What would I do? Not just if my job went away, but also if I just didn't want to be here anymore, because that also happens. Stuff happens and the job's no longer tenable or attractive. So what would I do? How do I get that periscope up? We're so, immersed in our jobs all the time. There's your to-do list, and then behind that is another longer to-do list, and then the home to-do list. I don't, it's unbelievable. How do you even get up and get through the day with this kind all these inputs hitting you and expectations of you? So then to make extra time to think about your career beyond your current job is very hard. It's very hard, okay? I understand. Here's the only thing. The degree to which you fall asleep like Sleeping Beauty on the pillow after she pricked her finger in the movie on your career is the exact degree to which you are not in charge and somebody else is running your life. That's terrifying. No one's allowed to run your life, but they are if you are not in charge of your own career and ability to make money. So a little time carving out 40 minutes a week just to get a journal, or if you use a device, that's fine. What kind of job would I do if I wasn't doing this right now? And just let your mind, you don't have to answer in 1 second. Just let your mind wander. What would it be? I like this aspect of my job, but I'm kind of interested in that. but I've been saying I'm going to research that thing for 6 months. I haven't done it. Should I just do it? Let me just do it right now. Just let some stuff wash over you and say, what would it be like if I was in this department that I kind of think is interesting, or this industry, this other function? Could I get one of those jobs? Then we go immediately to fear. I don't think I could get that job. And then I want you to say, don't think about that. Doesn't matter. Just let me think about what I want. What do I want? Because when you see, I guarantee you this, when you see the connection between what you've already done so far in your life and your career and what you want to do next, it's going to be so crystal clear and you'll be able to convey that. And people say, how could I change careers at age 38 or 46 or 54, 69? It's not even a thing. We see divisions between these jobs that don't even exist because of the way we've been, brainwashed, because of the way we've been brainwashed. So those divisions are not real. And when you see it, it's going to be clear, and you're going to have that story that explains why you're going from point A to point Q. Answer the question? I didn't know. Okay. Counteroffer is they are looking for. I sucked. I hung up. Still interested in the job for about a day. Then I wasn't. Yeah. It stinks though when it's going on. But you know what? When they do ask you for that free consulting, and it's so irritating, there is a weird left-handed compliment in there too, because they thought you were good enough. They wanted your consulting. It's gross. I mean, I'm glad that you didn't do it, but it's like you know what you're doing. You're on your game. Okay. Oh yeah, I was answering. How do you sort of get ready and stay ready without actually starting a job hunt? First thing is decide on the job titles that you would look at. If you start with 5, narrow it down to 3. Hopefully all kind of adjacent to each other. And all these job titles are adjacent in some way anyway these days. Okay. And then once you've got a bead on those job titles, who's the hiring manager? What's their title? That's the next question. Who would this job report to? Because you want to research and learn a lot about their life at work. You want to learn about their role. You want to learn about the role you have in mind, of course, but also what's that hiring manager? Study them. What are their problems, right? In the department. If they didn't have somebody doing what you intend to do in that department, what bad thing would happen? What would the manager's problem be? We call it pain. And what does it cost that organization? So you're going to study this. You have a job. Maybe you're thrilled and happy at your job, but you're still going to study this so you get knowledgeable about it and confident through that knowledge acquisition. Okay, so then what you want, and you learn about the job. Now you're going to go back to your own background, your own story, all the way from your very first job at Burger King or whatever, right? And you're going to tell that story to yourself. This is a great reason to have a journal, a memoir. Start at birth if you want, but start certainly by the time you had your very first job. I don't care if it was raking leaves, babysitting, whatever it was. Five Guys, and write about how you got the job, what it was, who trained you, everything you learned about yourself, about the working world, about customer service, all of it, and your triumphs, and let those memories come back, because we don't collect this stuff. We only say, I have 6 years of C++, 4 years on Excel. Who cares? Tell us the stories of what was cool that you did, what you enjoyed, and when you felt powerful at work. Right. And when you felt that voltage that we all want to feel. And I think one of the problems with work sometimes is that a lot of times fear in organizations almost like means that they don't want you to feel that voltage. Right. It's like, no, you shouldn't enjoy the work. Just do the work. No, that's the reason work isn't, like work can be a really fulfilling and cool thing when we have that access to the voltage that is actually our own personal power. That's what it is. All right. The journaling is a good idea. That's Ken. I try to keep one for weekly directions, including job hunting. What are a couple of questions you think would be good to ask yourself every week about your job search? This is great, Ken. Okay, let's run it down. Every week. How do I feel about my direction? I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were here, Ken, but most people have a very fuzzy sense of their career direction that hurts them in their job search. It hurts them more than almost any other problem. That lack of clarity. You have to decide what job you want. You cannot say strategic marketing leader, savvy business executive. That's ridiculous. It's 2026. Jobs come in specific, defined, combinations of things. And it's marketing. Job search is marketing, especially at a senior level. So, who's the buyer? What's their pain? How can I answer that pain? Just like if we were consulting, same exact thing. So we can't say, I have these skills. Would anybody find them useful? No, literally no, because you haven't consolidated them into something of your own, which is a design project. It's deciding, and it is leaving something out. People say to me all the time, how do I get 30 years of experience into my resume? You're not. You could start right now and tell the story of your life, just your working life. And we'd all die before we get to the end of the story if we get into sufficient detail, right? You're not going to tell the whole story. No one is the audience for that story. Not right away. You're going to distill the most relevant parts of the story, the most relevant, your mini stories. We call them dragon slaying stories, to your target hiring executive, because you've already decided who that is by title. And we can learn a lot about somebody because of their title and their role. So on that note, let me just switch gears. I've got a journal prompt for you between now and the next time we do this. And I've also got a little update. Okay, here's the journal prompt. What? You got a journal? Any notebook, but make it dedicated. Make it a journal that you'll use just for this purpose, to journal in. All right. What is one area of your life? Could be your relationship with a certain coworker, could be your relationship with your sister-in-law, could be your laundry room, could be anything that could be better and that would feel better to you. Now listen, no criticism. You are awesome and it's unbelievable what you get done every day. No criticism, no judgment, no nothing, no analysis, no critique, no plan. None of that. None of that. I'm talking about permission to see something lovely that would please you and make your life easier, because you carry a lot, right? What's one area of your life that could be a little bit better and that would feel good? Write it down and visualize it. Decide what you want. If you're not crazy about your relationship with this one coworker, just visualize you and that coworker just having a really nice conversation like 6 months from now. Because this stuff takes time. It's energetic shifts, right? Doesn't happen overnight. It's not a transaction. What would it be like? Just the two of you are laughing, having a cup of coffee and laughing. Like, that'd be super cool. Just allow that vision to kind of take shape. Whatever that thing is that you're not 100% like feeling it in your life right now, just imagine it better. And maybe if you feel like it, write about it. That's the journal prompt. That's it. That's how the seed gets planted. It's not, I have to fix, I have to make a plan, I have a 17 point and a timeline. Envision and be very kind to yourself. How we do in time-wise with just enough time. Journaling is a good idea. I help people with their resumes. Okay. Still unemployed. Take a look at human voice resumes. It's very, very different and way more effective. The problem with the traditional resume format, it doesn't work. It doesn't make anybody's heart beat faster. Why would it? When it's all jargon, like left over from the 1980s, literally, it makes everybody sound alike. Every single job seeker sounds alike because we all use the same jargon. It just completely hurts you. And it's time to throw that out. Just throw it out. Okay. So here's my last update. We just launched today our community for our company, Human Workplace, and our followers, our 3 million followers on LinkedIn and our followers on Twitter and Facebook and all over the place. And it's a community where people find friendship and personal and professional growth and support from other people who see the world the way we do, which is that work is a human place. And we are all stronger when we're using our muscles and using the power that we've got to empower ourselves further and get more of what we want and deserve in our lives and careers. And so it's this non-traditional job search and work and leadership advice like I've been talking about tonight. It's a human voiced resume and our pain letters, which are New Millennium Improvement on Traditional Cover Letters, and tons of methodology and practices and scripts to be more powerful and more in charge of your own life and career, but also the conversation and the support and community around that idea, because it's a personal journey that we're all going through individually, but also together. And in the community, I lead live coaching sessions like this, along with my teammate Michael, and we share scripts and examples and cheat sheets and all those kinds of things. And then we have our community together to share ideas and learning and support and success stories and challenges and all that kind of stuff. So to learn more about our community, go to humanworkplace.com. That's our website. Human Workplace, place where you go to work, humanworkplace.com, and you'll see our community. And we would love to have you join and get into the conversation. And I would love to hear your questions in our private community, sort of like we're doing on YouTube tonight, but in that protected space for people who resonate at this frequency and believe that we all get stronger when we use the power we've got. So with that, I'm going to sign off and thank you for joining me tonight. We'll do this again, I'm sure, before long. And I'm Liz Ryan. You can find me on LinkedIn or most social media platforms. And you can always find us at humanworkplace.com. And we'd love to see you there. Take care.